Okay, so if you would put into the chat box that you can hear me, that would be great. I just want to make sure that my audio is working. So again, just type in the chat box that you can hear. Perfect. All right, it sounds like everyone can hear me now. That's great. I'm going to get started then, and as people join us, they can just catch up with us. That also reminds me that this webinar is going to be recorded. So for those of you that want to watch this over again, feel free to do that. Additionally, if you have friends or family that you feel would benefit from this webinar, feel free to share the link with them. And I will share the link of the recorded webinar to you guys at the end of this. Again, just feel free to share it, spread all the information so that more people can be educated on this. So while I'm giving the presentation, your guys' audio and video is going to be disabled, and that's just so that I don't get distracted and you guys don't get distracted and there's not lots of background noise. There's going to be lots of videos in this presentation. I feel like watching presentation with video is a lot more interesting for me as opposed to someone just talking and reading off of slides. So I tried to put lots of videos in here for you. Those are going to be more towards the end of the presentation. All those videos are linked up to a YouTube link. So I hope they play for you when I click the play button. If there's any kind of issue with those videos playing though, I've included the link in the slides so that when you get the slides after this presentation, in addition to the presentation recording, you'll be able to click on that YouTube link to view it yourself. But again, fingers crossed, technology is on our side tonight and those videos play when they're asked to play. Okay, so I'm going to get started and I'm going to share my screen. Whenever I share a PowerPoint screen, I always find that I wish I was able to take advantage of this little bit to the left here that shows the slides. So I'm going to keep it in this, I'm going to keep this area up here. So that I can just navigate this better. And I'm also going to have this little red laser on my cursor so that you guys can see things that I'm indicating to. All right, so you got a dog, probably over COVID. A lot of people got a lot of puppies. A lot of people went to the shelters to adopt dogs. And it's probably been quite an adventure for you guys that have added a new dog to the family. For those of you that already have dogs that did not necessarily get a new dog, there's always an abundance of of issues that we end up wishing our dog was better at. Part of my job as a dog trainer is to receive a lot of those complaints from owners about their dogs and their behavior. Other people that are taking advantage of this webinar may have a perfect angel dog that they don't have much problems with, and they're just wanting to learn more about how to better their relationship with their dog. All of these three groups of people that I'm speaking towards will benefit from this because this webinar is such a broad topic. It can be thought of as a way to teach you guys how to just better communicate with dogs, period. It's a webinar that teaches what I feel dogs prefer humans to do in terms of communication. And it's also a webinar that teaches people how to better read dogs. So I'm trying to make the gap between the dog and human relationship narrow some so that there's less conflict and there's more connection. That's my goal with this. So there's so many unrealistic expectations that people have of dogs, and I think this is the crux of the problem. Working at Shelby Humane Society, being a dog trainer, there are so many unrealistic expectations that people have of dogs, to the point where I say sarcastically in my brain as I roll my eyes, why do you have a dog? You should have gotten a goldfish, right? Obviously, dogs are going to be way too high maintenance for you, so take the easy road out and just get a goldfish. But people don't. They end up getting the dog, and so they experience some rocky parts in their relationship. And I think the rocky parts are due to unrealistic expectations. So you've probably already read this list of expectations that I put on here. These are common things that I hear from people. And so I want you to think of these. I want you to think of any others that you might add to this list. And the goal with this presentation, again, is to try and prove to you guys that these expectations are unrealistic, rather. So these are more realistic expectations. These are all behaviors that people that go out and get a dog should expect, because dogs are not robots, and they are certainly not perfect angels. They are their own autonomous, independent, living thing that has free will and emotions. So you should expect your dog to bark, like this dog out the window. I'm sure that you've seen your dog do this, and this is a video that's playing. Dogs barking out the windows, dogs barking at the doors, very common. You should expect that. Most dogs do that. They also chew on lots of things, like this dog right here. They have lots of energy, so it's something that we call the zoomies is very common for dogs to do, especially younger dogs. And this is a video showing a black pit bull having the zoomies. I don't know if you guys can see that video. I'm just seeing a white screen. That might have been a video that didn't work. Let's see if we can play it again. There we go. Look at those zoomies. So just a burst of energy and enthusiasm for life. So many people tell me, how can I get my dog to stop having the zoomies? Let's see, wanting to chase a squirrel. Dogs love chasing squirrels. They're so distraction prone. So you'll have a dog that's working for you, and then all of a sudden, bam, they're distracted at something else. Dogs are very active. They have a lot of energy. Dogs don't come understanding English. Dogs don't necessarily like being pet by anybody and everyone. Dogs need a reason to work. You have to give them a paycheck to work. They don't just work for free. They're not your little slaves. They don't always want to do a trick, right? They don't always want to work for you. They will probably pull on a leash. They will probably jump on people, and they're probably not going to like every dog or person that they interact with. So the goal is to change the way that you approach these behavioral problems, and the behavioral problems are related to your unrealistic expectations commonly. So I want to teach you, number one, a better way to communicate with your dog, and then give you a step-by-step approach on how to problem solve a variety of behavioral issues. This step-by-step guide is something that I think can apply to pretty much every behavior issue that you're seeing. I'm going to specifically demonstrate how this step-by-step guide works with specific behavioral problems. We're going to go over 3 very common ones together. Before we get started with this, though, I want you guys to write in the chat box some common behaviors that you think dogs do. So when dog comes to mind, what do you imagine a dog doing? Think of common behaviors like chewing on a bone or something like that. I want you guys to write this in the chat box. So I'm going to give you guys about 2 minutes to think of some common behaviors dogs do. In order for me to see the chat, I think I may have to, oh, never mind. I can see the chat now. Okay, so as I get information from you guys, I'm going to add the comments in this box. Herd cats, that's funny. Chasing balls. Licking people, hurting things, jumping to greet people, cuddle, that's sweet. Steal food, mouthing, sniffing, nipping, good stuff, good. Anything else, guys? Get frustrated, good. Have emotions, definitely they're capable of getting frustrated. Jumping on bed, pulling on leash hard. Okay. Yeah, these are great, guys. Begging. All right. Let's try and get 3 more. Sniffing, 2 more. Let's get 2 more. Let's get 2 more behaviors. Can anybody think of 2 more things? Whining and peeing. Okay, we're gonna stop it there. That was great, guys. Great exercise. So these are all behaviors that you've identified as expecting dogs to do. These are behaviors that you and your brain think of when you think dog. We're gonna revisit this list later on in the presentation. So this is not gonna be the last time you see this slide. We're gonna come back to it. I found this picture on Facebook about 2 weeks ago and I loved it. I didn't quite know where it fit into this presentation, but I didn't want to get rid of it. So the reason why I love it so much is because it is a very accurate depiction of what I've found in dogs. I think people fall in love with itty bitty 2-month-old puppies that are really dopey. They just kind of bumble around. They're really quiet and soft and they don't really have much energy. And then about 4 months later, you get a puppy that's turned into this velociraptor type creature. It has so much energy. It's bouncing off the walls. It's making weird vocalizations. It's scratching you. It's biting you. It's driving your house crazy. And that happens for a long time, depending on the breed of dog that you have. That energy level can last until 2 years of age, if not more. I talked to a client today who has a Jack Russell Terrier who's 12 years old, and she's like, people kept telling me he was going to slow down, but he hasn't yet. When is he going to slow down? And I said, he's a Jack Russell Terrier. He's got a lot of get up and go. So he's going to have a lot of energy for a long time. I think that puppies are so cute so that they'll make you fall in love with them. So when they turn into a velociraptor, you're already hooked and you're already in love. So for those of you that have a puppy right now or thinking about having or getting a puppy, know that they're not going to stay really quiet and sleepy and dopey their whole life. They're probably going to mature and have a lot more energy. For those of you that are in velociraptor stage right now, I hope that you will benefit greatly from this step-by-step problem-solving guide that I'm going to show you. We're going to cover a lot of behaviors that you're probably observing right now. So again, just love this picture. It sums up a lot of my points that I'm making in this presentation. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the nitty gritty. I feel that a lot of people put their dogs inside of a box. Like literally the 4 walls on our house are the box. In addition to the physical walls that are boxing our dogs in, our rules are the box, our expectations are the box. So we are asking our dogs to do so many things, and the things that we're asking them to do are often involving us restricting normal dog expression. So you're not allowed to chew my furniture. However, chewing is a natural way for a dog to express a behavior. You're not allowed to bark at the Amazon delivery guy. However, dogs barking is a natural behavior. So we're asking them to censor a lot of behaviors that make sense to them, and that can feel very confining and suffocating to dogs. So I wanted to talk more about this in the lens of the 5 freedoms. The 5 freedoms is something that's very familiar to people that work in animal welfare. The 5 freedoms in the orange here are things that all animals that are kept in captivity are required to have in order to be considered being kept humanely. I imagine a lot of you are wonderful dog owners, so you've definitely given your dogs the first 3 freedoms. You've definitely checked those boxes off. The boxes that may not be as checked off are items 4 and 5. So we might not really be allowing them to express their normal behavior as much as the dog would wish. And we also may be putting them in situations that might be more fearful or distressing to them. For example, a public dog park, or having a house party and having 10 people over at your house could be something that is distressing or fear-inducing for a dog. So I wanted to expand on items 4 and 5 to this blue box right here that goes over some differently worded 5 freedoms. And I feel like these 5 freedoms are more applied to human well-being, which is why I've placed the human next to this box. So the 5 freedoms in the blue area is meant to kind of more communicate making sure that an individual is free to observe things in their environment, think and feel the way that they feel, to be able to ask for something instead of only being able to do things that they've given permission to do, and then their ability to make choices on their own behalf. And so this kind of really compounds my point about making sure that we lift some of those unrealistic expectations on our dog and give them more of these freedoms that are listed and outlined in this blue list right here. I feel like a lot of well-meaning dog owners that keep their dogs in a home while they go away for work, the dogs tend to have a similar life to that of a zoo animal. And I feel like this can be a hard point to swallow, but it's true in a lot of ways. These zoo animals are kept in a smaller area than their natural environment. The zookeepers try and make that environment as close to the real environment as they can through enrichment and stuff, but it's never the same. And so I feel like it's similar for dogs. My dogs that are kept inside of this house that I'm in right now while I go to work for 8 hours a day, I bet they're bored. You know, I don't think that if they were loose and able to make all the decisions in the world, that they would choose to stay in this house asleep for 8 hours a day. So I feel like just the way that we keep dogs, inside dogs that are in backyards and stuff, that we're really kind of depriving them of their ability to make all of these choices that they would naturally make. And that lack of enrichment, the lack of choices, will likely cause an increase in stereotypical nuisance dog behaviors. So if we have a dog that has a lot of needs physically and mentally, and its life most every day is just inside of a house and in a fenced-in backyard, that dog might be frustrated that it's not getting enough engagement and enrichment and develop behavior problems like barking, digging, and chewing. And that's the dog's way of asking or telling his family, I need more. I need more than just the 4 walls of this house and this fenced-in backyard. It's important, I think, at this juncture to note that not all dogs are created equal. If you can see, I'm going to try and move my webcam here. The dog asleep right there, the brown brindle dog, her name is Elsie. Ever since I got her at 8 weeks old, she has been the most sedentary, laid-back dog that I've ever had. So her enrichment needs are pretty low. Like, she's pretty happy with not much going on. In contrast, Kobe, come here. Kobe, where is he? Kobe, up. Come on. Kobe right here. He's an Australian Shepherd Pit Bull mix. He needs a lot of enrichment in his life. Just him as an individual, he needs a lot more going on every day compared to Elsie, okay? So not all dogs are gonna be the same in terms of their enrichment needs. I also have a lot of clients and people that come to adopt dogs at the shelter say, I want this dog. I want my dog to be like the last dog I had. My last dog was a perfect angel. She read my mind. She knew that when I pointed at the newspaper at the end of the driveway that she was supposed to pick it up and bring it back to me. She never barked at anything. And so they get another dog and they expect that dog to behave just like their previous dog. And that's not fair. You can't compare them to each other. They're all going to be different. All right, so this is the slide that's going to cause us to go back to that previous exercise we did where I had you guys list out common dog behaviors in that chat box. This slide is based off of a poll that I did maybe about a month and a half ago, where I asked Facebook users to vote on behaviors that they found most annoying in their dogs. And so the first behavior that was voted the most commonly, so 24 votes, voted that they would wish their dog barked less at other people or dogs. The second most annoying behavior was jumping on guests. And the third one was feeling stressed, anxious, possessive, excited, aroused, or afraid. So feeling some kind of extreme emotion. So knowing that, we're going to go back and revisit this list of behaviors that you guys wrote. And let's see, we got jumping to greet people. That's the same as the second most annoying behavior. We said whining, which is similar to barking, though I'm baffled that nobody wrote barking on this list. So we got whining, jumping to greet people, and then I would say getting frustrated. It kind of mirrors that intense emotional reaction. So these are the top 3 things that people wish their dogs did less of. And I wanted to do that exercise because I wanted to compare what you guys expected dogs to do, but how that compared to what people wish dogs did less of. And so that's a good indication that there is a really wide gap in terms of our expectation of what dogs should do. If we go into the shelter and get a dog and expect them to do that list of behaviors that you all wrote, but then 2 weeks later we say, oh, I wish he didn't bark or whine, I can't really understand why the person went to go and get a dog in the first place then. You should have expected the dog would do this. And people surrender their dogs because they bark too much. And so it's hard for me to make sense of it all sometimes. So we're going to now try and solve the problem. So we're going to try and troubleshoot this. And the way that we troubleshoot it is going to have us go through these 6 different steps. So the first step is going to be us identifying the problem. Then we're going to identify when and where the dog is doing this behavior. So what environment is driving this behavior. Then we're going to have an exercise in empathy. We're going to try and think about why our dog is doing this. Then we're going to try and identify what we would rather the dog do, so a different behavior other than the nuisance one. And then we're going to try and figure out how we can naturally decrease the frequency of the nuisance behavior. And then we're going to try and identify how we can help train our dog to do the behavior that we would prefer. This step-by-step guide is something, again, that I feel like can translate to all different kinds of behavioral problems for the most part. First, though, I want to lay down some framework and talk a little bit about how I feel dogs want to be communicated with. Okay. So those unrealistic expectations can cause poor communication, which equals conflict. The conflict can equal stress, which can cause bad decisions, which can cause loss of trust, which can deteriorate the relationship. So adjusting those expectations and becoming better at communication should help decrease the amount of conflict and all of these other downstream effects that you're experiencing with your dog. So I remind everyone on week 1 of my beginner class that dogs' intellectual abilities can be compared to a 2-year-old. So if you guys have had kids and you've had a 2-year-old, just try and use that as a marker for what your dog's capable of doing. So have the same kind of expectation of their ability to logically reason and understand things. Bring the same patience that you would with a 2-year-old as well. So now we're going to get more into specifically how I feel dogs like to be communicated with. And communication can be thought of as training. I think that's what dog training is. It's communicating with a dog. So this is my opinion. I don't know for a fact because I don't know, I can't get inside a dog's head, right? So it's just my opinion of how dogs don't want to communicate, or how dogs don't want to be communicated with is a better way to put it. Punishment-based training methods, I think, are very stressful for dogs, and they don't want to be communicated with in that way. I know I wouldn't, so I imagine dogs wouldn't either. Some punishment-based methods are derived from dominance theory, so the thought that the human needs to be the alpha disciplinarian, authoritarian type figure. And they involve the use of force and fear to try and get a dog to not do something. So if you don't want your dog barking, a punishment-based trainer would say, then put a shock collar on the dog and administer a painful shock when the dog barks. The dog stops barking because it's reacting to the pain. This kind of method, I think, is very human-centric. It only considers what makes the human's life easier. The training methods are better tailored to suit the human. It's easier for them to use the methods and the tools. And so it really does a disservice to the dog. It doesn't really consider the dog's point of view as much. So it's very human-centric. Sorry, I did not mean to do that. So this is my opinion of why humans choose punishment-based methods. I have a huge fear that whenever I introduce myself as a rewards-based trainer that uses positive methods, that people think that I am some treat-throwing fairy that thinks everything is sunshine and unicorns. And I am not that. Before I started training with Rebecca, and early on in my dog training journey, I mentored under a police dog trainer who was very much punishment based. So I was introduced to those kinds of shock collar, prong collar, you have to be dominant methods. So I mentored under a trainer that did that. And I was able to have enough confidence to be able to independently think and be critical of her methods and observe the effect that they were taking on the dogs. And it made it easy for me to really step away from that methodology and step more towards doing positive rewards-based methods. And that's all that I do now. The positive rewards-based methods are the only methods that I think are humane, and they're the only ones that I believe in. But during my experience with that police dog trainer and in working with clients that are currently doing punishment-based methods or have been doing punishment-based methods, I was able to kind of understand why people opt to choose them. And I think people choose these methods because it's an emotional release for them. If you're frustrated at your dog for pulling on the leash or barking and lunging at other dogs, you're already in a negative state of mind. So it feels really good to unleash that negative emotion on your dog, right? And so the punishment-based methods allow you to do that. It also causes an immediate, short-lived stop of the behavior. So punishment-based trainers can say, yeah, the shock collar really works. Bam, you press the shock button and your dog shuts up. It stops barking. And I think that immediate fix in the behavior really makes people think that it works. It's also easy to do. It's a lot easier for a person to buy a shock collar and to press a button on a shock collar remote than it is to work 2 to 6 months through behavior modification training to help solve leash pulling or reactivity through a rewards-based trainer. The reason why I think this is a bad idea is because it doesn't produce long-lasting stop of the behavior. It damages trust. You have to constantly maintain that behavior. It causes emotional damage to the dog. The stop of the behavior is dependent on the presence of training tools like shock collars or prong collars. It's not scientifically based, so a lot of the scientific literature does not support this methodology, and it's very human-centric. So I am I'm very critical of this method, and I don't agree with it. Big surprise, the method that I do agree with is very rewards-based. So this is the method that I feel dogs prefer to be communicated with. This method is very dog-centric, so it takes into account what is the dog feeling. It uses positive reinforcement, so we're rewarding good behavior. We are not administering any kind of force or fear. It's always, you did a good thing, let me pay you for that good decision. This kind of builds the team. So you and your dog are a team. The best kind of communication happens between two really good team members. And it's relationship centered. So it builds that relationship and that bond between you guys. And this is a picture of the guy sleeping with the dogs in here, was something that I really wanted to put in here because I have so many clients tell me, oh, I shouldn't sleep with my dog because I feel like I'm not communicating my alpha status. Definitely sleep with your dog. I am total 100% on board with snuggling with your dog under the covers at night. I think this kind of activity builds relationships and it does a world of good. And I don't think it makes your dog any more misbehaved than if they slept on the floor next to you. So I sleep with my dogs every night. I have like this much bed to sleep on because I share it with 4 big dogs, but I love every minute of it. Okay, the reason why humans choose this is because I feel like it creates sustainable results. So it might take longer for you to get there, but it's worth it. It strengthens the handler-dog bond. It increases confidence. And when we're talking about dogs that have lots of behavioral problems, oftentimes building confidence can help with those. The stop of the behavior is not dependent on training tools. Scientific literature supports this training methodology. People don't feel like they're abusing their dog doing this. And it's dog-centric. The pitfalls of this, the common complaints are that it can take a lot of time, so you have to be patient. It also requires you to be empathetic because you're having to try and communicate with a nonverbal being that has a two-year-old's brain, right? And that requires you to have good communication skills. So you have to be a good listener and a good observer, and that's hard for some people. So when we use rewards-based training, you really need to identify what your dog loves, because that reward is going to be analogous to like your paycheck at your job. So, you know, if your boss asks you to do a really hard project and says, I'm going to pay you half of what I normally pay you, you're going to be less motivated to do it. But if your employer tells you that he's going to pay you twice as much as she normally does for this hard project, you're going to be more motivated to do it. So try and figure out what it is that your dog loves to do, or figure out what it is your dog loves to work for, rather. So bring out the really good stuff. Okay, so now we're going to get into those top 3 behavioral complaints that people on Facebook listed, and that was going to be barking, jumping up on people, and then the reactivity. The reactivity is just that over emotional reaction to something. So it's that umbrella term for that. So the first thing we're going to look over is barking. This is a picture of my dog Kobe barking. I love this picture. He looks like a demon. He's really not, but barks a lot, Okay, and this is evidence of this. So this is a video that I took maybe 3 or 4 days ago when the mail lady was delivering a package to my front door. You can see my windows are open and my front door is open. There is a glass door here, guys. So it's the baby gate is not the only thing keeping them in. I just want to reiterate that. There is a locked glass door here with a baby gate on top of it. And I'm going to play this video and you can see my dogs going ape and barking at this mail lady. Good. I'm going to play that again. Lots of barking. Lots of barking. Okay. So that barking probably happens in your home a lot. It's more abnormal for a dog not to bark out the window than it is for a dog to bark out the window. It's a very common problem that people have with their dogs. So we're going to go step by step through how to solve this problem. So step one is identify the problem. Say it out loud. Don't just have it in your head. Say it out loud or write it down. Say it to your dog. Say to your dog, Kobe, you bark when I don't want you to, okay? Make sure that you have that in your brain. Be very clear with yourself about what the problem is. Step two, when and where is my dog doing this behavior? So try and think about the environment that is facilitating this behavior. My dog barks when she sees people walk by outside the window, okay? Very specific. Why do I think my dog is doing this behavior? This is the dog-centric approach. So have some empathy here. Think about, why is she doing this? And don't have really simple things like because she's mean or because she's stubborn. Really, really have an exercise in empathy here and try and wonder why it is that she's doing this. And know that we can't exactly get into their brain, so this is all guesswork, but we're taking an educated guess as best we can. So my dog may bark at people out the window because she does not feel comfortable having them come into her home. Okay, that is my guess. All right. Step four, what would I prefer my dog to do in this situation? Get specific with this. So this is where we need to identify the alternative behavior. And that alternative behavior should be something that is not conducive with the barking, okay? So something that is not conducive with the barking. So the thing that I wanted my dog to do was to come to me when she saw the person out of the window. So instead of barking out the window, could you come to me when I call you instead? And this down here is an important note for you guys to look at. This talks about why it's important to recognize why dogs may struggle with this, because we're asking a dog to do a behavior that isn't natural to them. It's not natural for my dogs to come away from a window with a person that's on the other side of it. It's something that's not instinctual for them. So when we train this behavior, it might take a while for them to get there. And it's because naturally they wouldn't do it, right? We're asking them to do something abnormal. Step five, what can I do to decrease the frequency of the behavior I don't want? So how can I set up my house to decrease the chances of her barking? I can block her access to the window by putting up a window film so she cannot see the people walking by outside as well. This will block visual stimulus. It will not block auditory stimulus. So it will prevent her from seeing people, but it will not prevent her from hearing people. I want to make sure that you guys know that I know that. Usually dogs are going to be reacting that are barking out the window are going to be reacting more to visual stimulus instead of auditory stimulus. So this solution should help you guys decrease a lot of the barking behavior. Step five is a step that is all about management. So how can I manage my dog? How can I manage my environment to kind of keep myself sane while training is progressing? I can't expect Lennox to come away from the window day one when she's barking, right? Some dogs will, but not all of them. Not all of them will. So while I'm working her towards that goal, what can I do to just keep my brain sane and just decrease the amount of barking? Management, step five, is how people stay sane, I think, while they're working with their dog. Okay, so be creative, think outside the box about how you can help manage the situation while you're waiting for your training program to gain traction. All right, step six, how can I help my dog do the behavior I would prefer? So this is all about training. How do I train my dog to come away from the window? So I've written out this answer here. I'm gonna tell you it though instead of just read it. So you'd want to train your dog to do a recall, and there's a link right here to a video that you guys can watch that teaches you guys how to train a recall. You want to try and train that recall at first in an area of your house where there's 0 to low distractions. So don't have a lot of distractions when you first do this. As the dog gets really good at coming when there's not a lot of distractions, you're going to gradually increase the intensity of the distraction. And then eventually that distraction is going to be an actual person outside the window, but you got to climb your way up there. You can't expect that to happen from the get-go. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so after you've practiced it over and over and over and over and over again, because dog training is all about repetition, you're going to try it out. The dog that I want you to focus on in these videos is the red and white cattle dog mix. Her name is Lennox. She is my most reactive dog, so she's the barker of my house. And so she's the one that I have really only worked with this on. And you'll see that's very obvious, because when I play this video, Lennox is going to be the only one that comes to me. Kobe and Ivy are going to stay stuck barking. Good. So she turned around and she did indeed come to me. Here's another video the same day. I just wanted to let you guys know that I could repeat this and it wasn't just a fluke. It's not playing. I just see a white screen on my computer. So we'll try and play that again. There we go. So in that video, she started to turn around and come to me before I said her name. She turned around and came to me, but then she went right back to the window, right? But she still did it. So baby steps, realistic expectations. That was a win in my book. Here's another video, same day, same situation, and you can actually see the mail lady's truck out there. That video was really important because she didn't immediately turn around and come to me at first, okay? So I had to help her out there. I'll play that for you again. So she didn't turn around and come. So I walk into her and I remind her that I have a good reward. And that's still a win for me. She still did the behavior that I wanted her to do. I just had to help her out a little bit more. And the reason why I had to help her out a little bit more was because the mail lady was a lot closer. In the first video, the mail lady was a lot farther away. She was already driving down the street. And the last video, she was just pulling out of my driveway. So the closer that Lennox was to the mail lady was harder for her. Always think about that. That goes back to step 3. Why do I think my dog is doing it? Why did Lennox struggle at that juncture versus previously? And that will help you figure out your training program. Or you can always just call me and I'll help you troubleshoot it. Okay, so what if she doesn't come when I call her? I just told you the answer to that. What if she doesn't stop barking? So you've tried to call her to you, you've waved the money in her face, she doesn't care, she keeps barking. You want to try and be creative and think about things that you can do to increase the chances of the dog being quiet. One of the things that I like to do is squeak a squeak toy. So the sound of a squeak toy automatically captures dog's focus, like Kobe right here. His ears are perked up. And so if he was barking and I squeaked this, he would probably stop barking because he's like, what? What was that squeaker? And then you would reward that because you generated the behavior you wanted, the quietness, you reward it, and then you'd call the dog away. All right, it's been 3 weeks and my dog is still barking out the window. The training program is not working. I think I'm just going to give up and quit. This has happened, this kind of complaint and thinking has happened with me and clients before. And to that, I would say that, you know, something isn't right. Either the training program, the management is not being executed optimally, or it should be or your dog has a more severe problem than can just be fixed with this this exercise. So the easy answer to that is bulk up on your management. So do more to try and decrease the frequency of the barking, and contact a professional trainer that can help you problem solve why this isn't sticking. Okay, so now we're going to go into jumping. For jumping and reactivity, I'm not going to go through all of the steps like I did with barking. I'm going to show you a video of my dogs doing that behavior, and then I'm going to play it for you once without me talking over it. The second time I play it, I'm going to do a voiceover, and I'm going to walk you through the problem-solving guide. So you're going to watch the video right now, hopefully. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm just seeing the top left corner of the screen playing the video. So I'll have to play it again for you and hope that you see the whole thing. Technology, it was not on our side. Okay. So let's try and play it again. Oh my gosh. That is so annoying. Hang on, guys. I'm going to try and make it tinier. Aha! That worked, I think. There we go.
We do things that. Yeah, good boy.
Okay, so now I'm going to play that same video, except I'm going to verbally go over the problem solving guide. So step 1, identify the problem. Problem is my dogs are jumping on me. They're jumping on me in the basement of my house when I have the leashes out. My dogs are probably doing this behavior because they're excited that they're about to go on a walk, because that's what the leash means. I would rather my dog sit for me instead of jump on me, so I'm going to ask them to sit. In order to decrease the frequency of this nuisance behavior, I can get them behind a baby gate and a crate first while I get the leashes out, so that their reaction to the novelty and excitement of the leashes has time to dissipate. Or I can show you in this video specifically, when I come home from work and Kobe gets really excited, I can put a baby gate in front of the room that he's in so that he has time to come down from that excitement of me coming home. And then step 6, I would train my dog to do a sit, so that when I ask them to sit in the midst of this harder distraction environment, they could recall on all of that practice and do it more successfully. So I place the baby gate there so that he can't physically touch me to jump on me. And sorry about all of my laundry. I'm really bad about folding clothes. So he's coming down from being really, really excited. I give him what he wants, which is my affection, because he's being a good boy and sitting. And then I'm at the point now where I don't even have to ask him to sit. He already knows that's what I want, so he's starting to offer it. It is becoming a habit for him to know to sit when I come home behind that gate. And his energy level is a lot lower now.
Yeah.
He's able to be more obedient, orderly, because I've set up the environment to be more conducive to that, to help him out. And I have the training in him to help him perform better like this. And this takes time. All right, you don't need to see the rest of it. That's just me showing off. Okay. So that is how to problem solve the jumping up behavior. Okay. Now we're going to go into reactivity. Reactivity is such a catch-all phrase for so many issues. I'm going to specifically show you how I work with Lennox, who is reactive to seeing people and other dogs. Reactivity can mean so many other things, though. It's pretty much just a human perceived overreaction to a stimulus. So a dog lunging, barking, growling, anything that we think is extra that the dog is doing, it can be defined as being reactive. So just like with the jumping video, I'm going to show you a video of Lennox being reactive. First, I'm going to show you a video that proves that she's reactive, and that's what this video is. And after I show you that video, I'm going to show you the video of me working with her. And the first time I show this video, I'm going to just play it without talking. It's kind of long. It's almost 5 minutes. Fingers crossed that you find it interesting enough to where you stay glued for the whole 5 minutes. And then after it plays for that 5 minutes, I am going to play it a second time and overlay verbally how I did that problem solving guide. So again, this video just proves that she's reactive. And this video was shot in April of this year. This is the same exact place that we're going to see her in the next video. So this was shot in April. Okay, so proof that she is reactive. And then this video was shot, I think, like 4 or 5 days ago in the same park, same spot in the park too. I'm just going to let you watch it, and then after that I'm going to talk over it. It's kind of long. It's 5 minutes. And then, sorry, while you watch it, I'm going to put Kobe up in my bedroom right now. So I'm going to get up and leave. You watch it. I'll be back though.
Good job, Lennox. Yeah, good girl. Good job, Lennox.
As you guys are watching this, I want you to try and figure out what it is that you feel like she's alerting to. So you'll see people in the background. You might hear car doors, cars pulling up. You might see dogs. So try and think what it is that she's reacting to.
Good girl.
We're almost done, guys. We're almost done with it. Almost done. Remember, try and think about everything that she's taking in. Try and map her out is what I like to call it. What is the map of Lennox's brain? What is the map that is Lennox?
You got a good girl, Lenny. Good girl.
Almost done. One more minute.
Yes, good job, Lynn. Good girl. Yeah. Yeah. Let's go. Yeah.
All right. It's over, guys. I'm so glad you hung in there. I hope that was interesting, at least in some parts to you guys. I don't know why I have so much anxiety that bored you, but I kind of do. I hope it wasn't. So I'm going to make it more interesting now by talking over it so that you have a glimpse into my brain as to the problem solving that I did with her during this. Things that I want you to look out for again, and I should have mentioned this on the front end, is that I want you to try and imagine like a heart rate monitor on Lennox so that you can start to map more arousal with her body language. So try and think of that heart rate monitor going up, down, up, down, up, down, based off of her body language here. That's really important. That's the empathy part, trying to get inside their brain. All right, so I'm going to make this smaller so that I can bring the guidelines back up into view. So number one problem, she barks at people and dogs that she sees in the park. She does this when we're out and about and she sees people. So that's number two. I feel like she's doing this behavior because she doesn't feel especially optimistic about meeting new people and dogs. So she's trying to let them know that she doesn't feel comfortable, and she's trying to intimidate them to let them know that she wants distance. She's requesting distance from them. Number four, I would rather my dog look at me instead of look at the trigger to climb an arousal. I'd like her to turn her gaze or her whole body away from the trigger. I'd love for her to sniff the ground and do a naturally stress reducing behavior instead of continue to gaze at the trigger and escalate. So those are the four things that I'm trying to capture for, and the four things that I have been training her to do. Number five, in order to decrease the frequency of this reactive behavior, I would not walk her on this side of the park. I normally actually walk her on the other side of the park that is less heavily trafficked, somewhere that's less trigger dense is how I like to say it. just so that there's less people and dogs to elicit this kind of response in her. Number 6, identify what I can do to help her learn to do these behaviors. If I was not a professional dog trainer, I think I would have to go and work with one to help me problem solve this, because a lot of the stuff that involves training behavior modification with reactive dogs is not something that comes very intuitively to the normal person. So that's my answer to the problem solving guide here. I'm going to try and highlight some of these things in this video so you can see it happening in real life. So I'm walking her past the parking lot here because Lennox is reactive to cars that park. Cars that sound like they're slowing down to park, she will start to get excited about, because what normally happens when a car slows down and parks, bam, a person opens the door and they appear, and Lennox is reactive with people. She doesn't trust people. So she's learned that a slowed down parked car equals person coming out. So this gray car right here just parked, and I was anticipating the driver of the car to pop out and show themselves. And so I was walking her up here to hopefully capture that, but that never happened. So this is a walking trail right here. Lennox knows this is a place where people walk. She's seen people walk there. Instead of being hyper focused and vigilant about looking at these people walk, she knows they're there. She knows they're there. She's choosing to turn her body and focus away and sniff this pole. That's great. This looks so benign to people, and some people are probably like, she's just smelling where another dog peed right now. How can you say that she's doing this because you trained her to do it? I trained her to do this. I reinforced her idea to smell things instead of react. And you can see the people are about to poke out right here. These were older people. She's looking at them, but not barking at them. She's staying calm. She's looking at them, and then you can see she's looking at someone behind her she alerted me to. She chose to turn around and sniff instead of be hyper-focused. You're going to see her start to get trigger stacked here. So she's being hit with way too many triggers, and she's going to go above threshold, and she's going to bark a little bit. So she's barking at that Jeep, this person coming out of the minivan, the people walking right here, and there's another walker that's way back here that she's aware of as well. And it's too much for her, so her sink is starting to overflow, and she's erupting into the reactive behavior. But the reactivity is not anything that's really, 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 really intense right now. So I consider her to be modulating herself pretty well given the density of the trigger. And look what she did. She barked a little bit, but she chose to sniff the ground. And she also chose to walk away for a little bit. And I indulged her. If I can reinforce her for avoiding the thing that's making her uncomfortable, I'm going to do that every time. I'm not going to force her to get closer to a thing that makes her feel uncomfortable. And again, this is the same exact park that she was at in that original video that I showed you to prove her reactivity. Same exact park, except it's been, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months later, 4 or 5 months into the training later. And this is how different her behavior is, using only rewards-based training. I'm never correcting her for anything. I'm not giving her a collar pop for barking. I'm not yelling at her. I'm not really saying anything. I'm trying to be as passive as I can be. I'm allowing her to make choices. I'm allowing her to do those 5 blue freedoms that we saw earlier. And I'm giving her the option to choose between making a better choice that naturally calms her down versus choosing to continue to become more agitated. This again is a behavioral problem that is a lot more abstract and non-intuitive to the everyday person. So please contact me or another rewards-based trainer to help you problem solve this, because the reactivity is a little bit harder. So I'm gonna sum up this webinar by addressing what you can do every day to try and live a life that your dogs would prefer. And I think the easiest answer to that is just don't try and introduce as much conflict. Don't try and make it hard for you. and your dog. I think one of the best examples of this is going on a walk with your dog. So whenever I walk with my dogs, I have them on very long leashes, and I do so so that they just don't pull me as much. Could I train my dog to heel by my side for the whole 30 minutes? Yeah, but that sounds like a lot of work for me and a lot of work for my dog. So instead, I'm just going to put him on a long line, and I'm going to let Ivy, whose tail is right here, I'm going to let her hunt for mice in the grass if she wants to. And I'm not going to be on an agenda on my walk. My agenda is totally supporting whatever they want to do. And that just makes less conflict. If I'm not as rigid as to where I want to go on my walk and what goals I want to accomplish, then I'm just going to have a lighter, stress-free walk, and so are my dogs. And that's going to pay both of us in the long run. I'm going to get home and my dog's going to be dead asleep because they got their exercise, mental and physical. And that tired dog is going to allow me to work on webinars like this to give to you. And so I'm just trying to make my life easier and my dog's life easier. And sometimes it makes me weird. I'm the weird lady that walks my dog on really long leashes in church parking lots instead of at Veterans Park. I go to weird places to walk my dogs just to make my life easier and try and have their life be more of a life that I think they would naturally prefer to have happen. So long as it's safe for me to do so, I let my dogs make a lot of their own decisions. And I think of myself as just like their life guide kind of, and their therapist. I'm not trying to be an authoritarian and someone that always just tells them they're wrong and messed up. And, I see them for who they are. They're a dog, and I meet them where they're at. So in addition to these cute videos of my dogs having fun, I wanted to also sign off with this quote from one of my favorite trainers named Suzanne Clothier. She says, "The glory of any relationship is not in finding ways to shape the other to suit our needs, but rather in celebrating the fullness of who they are." So if I am saying, I have a dog, I know you're a dog, I'm going to let you express dog behaviors because I celebrate that, because I love that about you, right? That doesn't mean that you should be okay with your dog chewing on your deck, your wooden deck, right? That doesn't mean that you should just throw your hands up and say, my dog can do whatever they want. Instead, it's just saying, I recognize you as having this need, right? Your love to chew on a deck. Let me try and find something that can better suit you, that can make us live more harmoniously. Don't always say you can't ever do this or that. It's more like, how can we find a way for us to both be able to do this together where we're both happy? Yeah. And so with that, I want to thank you guys for your time. I know I went over a little bit. I hope you had fun. I'm going to send you a recording of this webinar so you can go back and listen to it should you need to. And you're also going to get the presentation slides. Feel free to share this information with anyone that you think will benefit from it. Again, thank you so much for coming. I'm going to end the meeting now. Let's see if I can do that. I think I can. All right. Bye, guys. Thank you so much. Feel free to contact me should you need to later. Thanks.